This is a documentary on demonic entities, the actual reality of their existence, specifically the attributes of demons, which are many. I personally have had first-hand contact, witness of demonic entities back in the year 2010 and 2011, and sporadically after that. And the information I obtained from the first-hand contact, I have yet to be able to find all of it in books or anywhere. So I piece it together, I have to reverse engineer some of it, I have to see if I can find little traces and hints of it, but I decided to put this documentary together to really explain some of the more subtle attributes that demonic entities possess. This video is for educational purposes, so if you're entertained, that's great, but that was not the goal. The goal is to educate these invisible entities exist, and the dimension they live in exists. So hopefully scientifically one day we will be able to prove that demons live in a dimension above us. But until then, we have to rely on these first-hand encounters. They're crafty. These are extremely intelligent entities. They're very organized, and they're not going to show up at a laboratory and reveal themselves. They've been hiding themselves for thousands of years. Like a vampire, they don't die, so they have a memory that goes back thousands of years, perhaps millions of years, for all I know. All I can do is deduce from what I've witnessed, but I did witness 6 months straight of demonic poltergeist activity in the year 2011. I will continue to investigate this subject until the day I die. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus. They are as natural as the air we breathe, and so you don't need to be scared by them necessarily. I believe knowledge is power. Knowing this tiny piece of information, I hope it can benefit someone, even if only on a microscopic level. These entities, which are far more intelligent than us, which I believe are in a higher dimension, I use the 5th dimension as the default because I don't know what exact dimension they're from, but I make the assumption possibly the 5th. They look down upon us, and they see us as a subspecies, not worthy of direct communication, except in extremely rare circumstances, unprovable circumstances, which is really convenient for them, but when you're a 50-million-year-old entity residing in a higher dimension, not only do you know every trick in the book, but you witnessed the invention of the book, the invention of the alphabet, let alone the invention of fire and the wheel. To those that don't believe demons exist and think it's a joke, it is pearls before swine. That's how valuable, or at least rare and extremely secret, this information is. I'm making this video because as rare and secret and obscure and unknown as it is, I just want to start sharing. I firmly believe knowledge is power, and as an anti-occultist, I do not believe in hoarding knowledge. This is what the so-called elite have been doing for thousands of years, and I am most definitely against them. Demons have the ability to see through you, see through anything. Demons have X-ray vision. See this bat flying around? Demons sort of see like that, except they see in color, and they see all layers of the 3rd dimension. You may not have seen this movie. It didn't do too well in the box office, Tomorrowland, Disney's Tomorrowland, but I did see this movie in the movie theater, and I enjoyed it. I'm a huge fan of Disneyland and Disney and Tomorrowland specifically, and so I enjoyed the little Tomorrowland features here and there. But more specifically, one scene really stuck out to me as being odd because it reminded me of demons having the ability, having X-ray vision. And here is the scene.
Give me the Edison tube and we'll go without you.
I don't have the Edison tube.
It's in your bag. I have X-ray vision.
When'd you get X-ray vision?
Oh, she's full of surprises.
Now here is just an example of X-ray. It has nothing to do with the movie Total Recall. I'm just showing an example of how demons can see you. They can see your skeleton. They can see if you're hiding an object such as a gun. It doesn't matter. but they see a little bit more detail. They see kind of like the Predator sees. They can see heat. They can see even more detail than the Predator. They can see beyond your skin, through your skin. They can see your skeleton structure. They can see your veins. They can see your arteries. They can see your heart. They can see your gallbladder. They can see every bit of your intestines. They can see what's inside of your intestines. They can see what you ate yesterday. As far as the Predator, he only sees concerning his technology. Demons don't use technology. Demons are fifth-dimensional beings. They reside in the fifth dimension. They look down upon us who live in the third dimension, which is why they can see through us. It's kind of like us taking a look at a two-dimensional being. We don't really have to look through anything. We can see everything that being is on two dimensions, like an amoeba, for example. We can see everything that's in that amoeba. We can see the walls. We can see its guts. I would say demons can see through playing cards. You may have heard of a guy named Zendrius who talks about demon magicians. Now, I can't confirm or deny whether any of those magicians are demon magicians, but I can confirm that demons can see on the other side of a card. They can see through anything. They can cheat for you in a game of poker, but the thing is, they're not going to cheat for you in a game of poker because they're demons. They don't help people. They don't enjoy helping people. They only enjoy messing with people and destroying people's lives, or screwing with people. And a better example is Superman. Now, here's from the TV show Smallville. Superman is discovering his X-ray abilities for the first time, and he sees his friend there. He just sees up to his muscles. It freaks him out so much that he falls down. And he takes a look for the first time through the wall here, and demons can do this, and I think he likes what he sees. And concerning demons, they see everyone naked. They always have and always will for all time in the past, and this is sort of how demons can see you. They see everything about you. They see through you. And I'm not saying Superman is a demon, but I am saying demons have the actual ability, whereas Superman is just a fictional character. And here he is looking through a locker, looking through the bag, seeing the money. Demons have the ability to see through the layers, just like this. And how do I know this information? How do I know? Well, I'm going to give you a few clues as to how I know. But I'm just giving one more example. In the TV show Smallville, the episode is called X-Ray, I believe. And he can see through walls, see through anything, just as a demon can. I don't believe the creator of Superman ever knew this information. See, this information concerning demons is secret. It's a very occult, extreme secret. Now, here is a blog I came across by a guy named Imperial Arts. Let me preface by saying this is a blog from an extremely rare sorcerer, magician of the Goetia who has actually had success with summoning multiple demons of the Goetia. This guy admits 100% that this information is coming from a demon, directly from a demon. Also, let me give a little warning. I do not recommend you check out this guy's blog. The reason you don't want to read the blogs, watch the videos of these actual sorcerers that practice sorcery and summon demons and communicate with demons is because they are releasing corrupted information. Being in contact willingly and purposefully with demons has corrupted them. They probably are of the opinion that demons are harmless, some are good, some help you out, some tell you the truth. Fact of the matter is, all demons lie. The only time a demon tells the truth is when it is interwoven with a lie with the intent to deceive and destroy. And the reason I believe this particular sorcerer is legit is based on this tiny snippet of information I'm going to show, which syncs up with what I already know, which is a super obscure piece of information, which is barely, if even, mentioned on the internet once. And so that's why I'm making this video, to get it out there. Do not fall for the deception. Goetia demons, let's just put it this way. The Goetia has been proven to be a hoax, similar to the Necronomicon, but a hoax from the medieval times. And just because it's a hoax from medieval times, it doesn't mean actual black magic hasn't been interwoven into it. And I believe the Necronomicon can work just as well as the Goetia, based on the principle that if you have the intention to communicate with a demon, whether it's a Ouija board or whatever the case may be, that intention will get you into negative places. We're talking the Exorcist movie in worst case scenario, which is extremely rare. Best case scenario, you don't know it's happening, and one day something bad's going to happen. Now, you can't blame the devil on everything. There's always that double-bladed sword. So let's just focus on this. This demon this guy is supposedly talking to, Goetia demon NAPHULA number 60, I guarantee it's not this demon. This sorcerer thinks he has been contacting the different kings of hell, the different kings of the Goetia, but the fact is, I guarantee he has been contacting his spirit familiar. Demon familiars are pretty much assigned to you since birth, and they can shapeshift into anything. Demons, I'll cover this in a future episode, demons can shapeshift into anything. Any object, we're talking anything. A dead relative, a flying saucer, you name it. Demons are fifth-dimensional beings. They can trick us, stupid idiot, third-dimensional beings, because they can look down on our third dimension and see us like cattle just walking around in a cow field. And they're invisible 99.999% of the time. And we can't look at them and see them most of the time, and we can't observe them, therefore we can't plot against them. But they have almost infinity amount of resources and time and ability to plot against us. But one thing we can do is we can know our enemy and observe and just be wary and do not contact them. I believe the contacting of demons has been the result of the spawning of many religions. But this channel doesn't focus on religion, sports, or politics, so I'm not gonna shove my opinion down people's throat. But one thing I am gonna mention is my opinion concerning the paranormal, the supernatural, and demons fall within that category. And this phrase really stuck out to me. I pointed with the sword toward the box with the fastening chain inside, and asked if the spirit knew what it was. The spirit said that it did, and could see all of the items inside the box, mentioning the weak chain. I gather from this, admittedly with a possibility of error, that the spirit can assist in mechanics on account of its ability to see through opaque objects and understand the inner mechanisms. Demons can see beyond more than opaque objects, I'll tell you that. Demons can see through anything and everything. You can't have a lead box that a demon can't see through. And how do I know this extremely forbidden, extremely secret occult knowledge? I'll tell you how I know. I'm not going to tell you how I know. It's too much of a secret. To tell you how I know would be giving too much away. I'll tell you that I have two instances, first-hand instances, how I know that demons have X-ray vision. Two instances I have first-hand knowledge. One instance took place in California. The other instance took place in Arizona. I would say the Arizona instance took place in the year 2015, and the California instance took place in the year 2011, I believe. 2011, yeah. Spaced out pretty far apart. Perhaps such instances will never happen to me ever again. There's such rare instances where I was able to glimpse and observe how an entity observed that I know for 100% fact, demons, fifth dimensional spirit beings. If you don't believe in demons, know this. If you don't believe in demons, I'm talking about fifth dimensional beings looking down upon us, third dimensional beings. And it's not much different than us looking at amoeba through a microscope, and we can pretty much see through all the innards of that amoeba, because that amoeba is virtually a two-dimensional amoeba. We can see its guts, we can see the walls of its body, we can see through its body, we can see everything about that amoeba. There's not much that amoeba can hide from us when it's on a slide sitting there and we're looking at it through a microscope. The same can be applied to us. We are the amoeba, and the demons, or the fifth dimensional beings, are let's just put it this way, they're in a higher dimension. They have the upper hand on us. They don't need to use technology. They use the laws of the universe to look down and see through anything and everything. So if you think you have something hidden underneath your bed or in your closet or hidden in a wall, for example, if there's $50,000 a drug dealer hid in a wall 50 years ago and he died, demon knows where that is. Demon's not going to tell you, because demons don't help humans. It's the nature of demons. They do not help us. And in the future, I will reveal how I know, based on those two instances, that demons have X-ray vision. But I was saving that for my book I'm writing. And if I give away every single occult secret that I have, and the word occult simply means hidden, if I give away every single hidden piece of knowledge that I have, my book will pretty much be not worth getting, because all the information will be in all my YouTube videos. So yes, some of my YouTube videos are hit and miss. Some are me making a bad guess. But here in this instance, in this particular video, it's pearls before swine. I'm not saying you're swine. I'm just saying some of the viewers will completely reject this and call it total hogwash. To those viewers, they are swine, because this is a pearl of knowledge that goes deeper than most sages, beyond sages. This is a piece of knowledge that is useful, and I'll tell you why. Know thy enemy. That's why. If you know this tiny piece of information, you know your enemy a little bit better. And the more you know your enemy, the more you can protect yourself against your enemy. A lot of people suffer from sleep paralysis. It's been reproduced in laboratories using blindfolds and LEDs. They can actually recreate it in a lab. And a lot of the test subjects said they saw an entity at the foot of their bed or close to them. And some of them said it looked like a gray alien, a big-eyed alien. Some of them said it looked like maybe a dark entity or maybe an old hag or something like that. It's an ancient phenomenon that's been going on since the beginning of mankind. There are those that say it's purely psychological, or many can explain it naturally by the many means that exist. And I understand the scientific perspective. And for a long time I've called this paranormal version of sleep paralysis as false sleep paralysis, because it involves actual demonic entities. This version has happened to me a good 5 times. 2 of the times I saw what looked like a gray, big-headed, big black-eyed gray alien. The last time it happened to me was in the year 2014. I remember it happened about 3 months before the movie the Guardians of the Galaxy came out, because I remember watching that movie and seeing a familiar face. Now, I'm not familiar with the Guardians of the Galaxy, never read the comic book, was never exposed to it. I've been to a couple of comic book shops in my life, but I never picked up that comic book, never heard of it. But the last time I had a sleep paralysis incident was in 3 months before Guardians of the Galaxy came out. The entity felt like it was on top of me, choking me. And I closed my eyes. And I tried to see what the entity looked like. I couldn't see with my eyes open, but I closed my eyes and I tried to see it. And I saw it. Rare scenario, rare occasion. I can rarely see these things. 2 times I saw a gray alien like at the foot of my bed. But this time I saw it on top of me. And its face was completely pitch black. Its eyes were pitch black. And I think it had black hair or a black hood, or black hair and a black hood. Long black hair and a black hood, I believe. And the entity's face looked like it was made out of wood. It looked, to me, almost exactly like Groot's face in Guardians of the Galaxy. This was 3 months before the movie came out. I had never seen a preview for the movie up to this point. It didn't look exactly like Groot. Groot looks like a tree. Groot is brown, kind of with black eyes. This entity was pitch black, but still Groot face-ish looking, with the little broken wooden tree bark looking face. With the beady black eyes, it looked like it had black hair and possibly a black hood. I only saw it for a few seconds with my eyes closed. When I opened my eyes, I couldn't see it, but I could still feel the choking. It was on top of me, choking me. I fought it and fought it and fought it, and it finally disappeared and I was able to move. Now, scientists are going to say it's simply your imagination, but he was extremely lucid. I could see it. Sleep paralysis and lucid dreams actually many a times go hand in hand. Some people have commented that sleep paralysis is the beginning stages to the breaking into another dimension or being abducted, and which actually is very similar to shamanism. Shamanism involves taking a shamanistic drug and hallucinogenic, which I've never taken, but shamanism involves taking that shamanistic drug and you breaking free into the other dimension, and you can see like a lucid dream that's all crazy. And Joe Rogan talks about this. Joe Rogan takes DMT and all kinds of hallucinogenics, so perhaps you can reproduce it with drugs. I wouldn't recommend that in any way, shape, or form. As far as those trying to induce lucid dreams or out-of-body experiences, you know, I'm pretty neutral to the subject, but I think you can gain some insight, but you can also, who knows? I heard there was a guy who focused his entire life, the rest of his life, on trying to reproduce an out-of-body experience he had. And so I guess it can be addicting to a certain extent. I'm happy being in my body. Thank you very much. I think in the future, I'll have plenty of opportunity to be out of my body.
The following story is good evidence sleep paralysis is demonic in nature. This incident involves 2 witnesses who both experienced the demonic paralysis at the same time in the same room.
This next incident is a guy named Jeff talking about a time when he was attacked during a sleep paralysis incident. Scientists would say, it's just your imagination and whatever, blah, 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 yada, yada. But there is a second person in the room. While Jeff is being choked by this invisible entity, his friend was sleeping on a sleeping bag on the floor right next to his bed. And his friend, Jeff's friend, could feel the feet of the demonic entity walking on a sleeping bag and stepping on him while he's choking his friend.
You know, it was late at night. I was sleeping, and I heard like the strangest noise. It sounded like white noise, like a
I talked about this astral plane white noise sound that you hear when you are beginning to enter the astral plane with Brandon Young in a previous video podcast. Here is a clip of that conversation. I've heard the astral plane. When I go to sleep, I hear the astral plane at least 2 times a year.
You hear it?
Maybe 3 times a year, at most.
You hear it?
I hear it when I'm going to bed or waking up. Accidentally, I'll get in that REM type sleep where I'm still conscious, like a lucid dream type thing. But I hear the astral plane.
Whoa.
And I can describe...
What does it sound like?
It sounds like a cacophony of a million sounds at once.
Right?
It's a million sounds taking place at the same time, and occasionally you'll hear a sound that's louder than the others. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like every sound that ever happened in that room in the history of the universe from A to Z. That's what it sounds like.
Wow.
It was almost like white noise, very loud. As I was going to sleep or waking up, I started hearing this astral realm.
Cacophony, yeah.
Total. And someone else described it to me like an airplane. It sounds like when you're on an airplane, you hear just that generic sound. And now back to Jeff and Jeff's friend and their story of their encounter with a demon involving sleep paralysis.
and I heard like the strangest noise. It sounded like white noise, like a and I was sleeping near the window, so I looked up in the window and I didn't see anything, but I kept hearing that weird, like staticky sounding noise. And then it got louder, and next thing I know, I really couldn't move. It was like strange, like
Paralyzed,
I was like paralyzed or something. I can't explain it to this day, but it felt like I was paralyzed, and my whole body started to feel really weird. It's like I couldn't move, but I could feel something on my body. It felt really strange.
Body weight.
Yeah. It was really weird, really intense, because I'd never experienced anything like that, ever. The only thing I could think of, like, my first reaction was to, like, try to move or try to, like, figure out what the heck is going on, but instead of doing that, I just prayed.
Amen.
I did. I said, I called out to the Lord. I said, Jesus, protect me in the holy name, and I just kind of rebuked this thing, whatever it was, in the name of Jesus. Called out to him, pretty much, to help me out or get rid of whatever is in this room with me. And then when I did that, it just felt like whatever got me was let go, and I could move again. And I didn't hear that crazy static, but what I did hear was, when I was calling out to him, I heard you praying.
Yeah,
But
because I was praying.
But you had the blanket over you, though.
Yeah, because I was sleeping on the floor. And you remember, when you told me later, but I felt a demon walking right on my, the little mattress thing I had on the floor.
Yeah.
I felt the weight move and stuff, and then, I'm right there, even though I couldn't see it, but I can feel the form of the foot where I had the blankets over me, so the Holy Spirit told me to pray, and I knew it wasn't one of those demons that's going to go choke me out or something like that, so I knew just to be calm and pray, and I was praying. But
yeah, it was weird.
Yeah,
man.
He heard me.
Because, like,
you had
the blanket over you, like, I know how you sleep. You sleep like me with the blanket completely covered over you. It's not like I could see you praying.
Amen.
And it's not like I didn't hear you. Like, I thought you were asleep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but too, you heard me praying, but I wasn't praying with my mouth.
Yeah.
I was praying from within,
No, but I can hear you like I'm talking to you.
You'll
right
hear
now.
my soul pray. That's what you're hearing.
Strange stuff, man. I'll tell you what. And then when I woke up, I told you about it, and you were like, yeah, I know. I was like, what do you mean you know? Yeah, it was pretty intense, man. And prior to that, I had never had any, strange supernatural experiences.
Yeah, keep in mind, too, he gave up all that craziness. There's no drugs in the system. We definitely didn't get high before. You know what I mean? We didn't do nothing crazy. We weren't drunk.
No drinking. No,
you know what I mean?
We weren't doing lines of cocaine or anything like that.
Exactly.
It was a regular day. We probably just playing video games, working on music,
Yep,
and then
talking about the Lord, staying kosher,
Yeah, man, just going to sleep, So, yeah, it was insane testimony, and I know for like, if anything, I mean, if demons exist, God exists.
Exactly.
Because demons are nothing but fallen angels.
Amen.
Nothing but fallen angels. So if the devil exists and demons exist, trust and believe God exists too. Because God created these things. He created angels. They made their own choice and they fell from grace and they became demons. Mm-hmm. So you got to take the good with the bad. If demons exist, you know angels and God exist. Exactly. And His Son exists. It's very real. And I 150% believe that it is real.
Well, we're no longer believers. We're knowers.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We know. Yeah, we know this stuff. This is a testimony.
We don't have blind faith no more. You know what I mean? It's just that we know it is. You know,
this stuff happened to us.
That's two people experiencing sleep paralysis at the exact same time. And more specifically, experiencing the feet of the invisible entity and the hands of the invisible entity. That's just not explainable by science. The fact is, those two individuals experience an extremely rare attack from a demon, an invisible entity in the higher dimensions of the membranes of this universe. Why would the demon slip up and accidentally reveal itself to two people? I believe it happens occasionally. As a matter of fact, I did experience an extremely horrific nightmare one time. And I was in a dorm room with 3 other guys. There was 2 bunk beds. I had this horrific nightmare. I'll talk about this in a future episode, but this is also a rare shared experience. All 4 of us the next morning confirmed we all had an extremely horrific nightmare. All 4 of us. And we described it to each other, and it was basically the same nightmare. 4 people having the same nightmare and sleeping in the same dorm room, having the same nightmare the same night. That's not a coincidence. Science can't explain that. That was a demonic entity known as an incubus that was so lazy concerning hiding itself that it gave us all nightmares in a row, or maybe took turns giving us nightmares. And so it slipped up. I know for a fact incubus nightmare demons exist because all 4 of us experienced it. I know the names, the first and last names of those 3 other guys. But for their privacy, I'm not going to mention it because they don't know I'm making this video. This was years ago. This was easily 10 years ago. So what the dream was, oh my gosh. Think of the movie Willy Wonka when they go through the tunnel and that creepy movie plays. It's a million times worse than that. The dreams I had and the dreams the other 3 guys had, this joint, multiple, merged nightmare that we all had was just, we're talking guts, snakes, bugs, eyeballs, just gross things in your face. It was totally nonsensical, just a bunch of gross imagery, similar to the tunnel imagery in the original Willy Wonka movie. That's proof to me. It's proof enough to me that incubus exist. I've been attacked by sleep paralysis demons enough to know that sleep paralysis demons exist. And then there's the succubus demons, who everyone knows what they do, right? I'm not going to focus on them. These are just some of the attributes. Different demons have different talents, but I believe some demons share the same abilities. And these are just some of the abilities that they have. This membrane model that I constructed is based on a biological version of a membrane. No one knows what the different membranes of the universe's separation of dimensions actually looks like, as they are invisible constructs of the universe, but This is a representation of the separations of the different membranes in this universe. And this theory is not mine. This theory is M theory, also known as string theory, also known as superstring theory, also known as membrane theory. String theory is widely accepted among all physicists, scientists, and quantum physicists worldwide. Dr. Michio Kaku talks a lot about them, him being a co-founder of string theory. How many dimensions exist changes from year to year. I believe it's 12 dimensions now, but that is neither here nor there. We live on the 3rd/4th dimension. Just to clarify any confusion for those confused why we live in 2 dimensions at once, the 4th dimension is time. And time really isn't a dimension. It's a trick that scientists use to fool you into confusing you from looking beyond the 4th. Does anybody think about the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th? Not too often. They usually focus on the 4th. They're so confused on what the 4th is. We live in the 3rd dimension, but a ball exists, let's say a basketball. A basketball exists in the 3rd dimension, obviously. That basketball takes up space. It takes up time and space. Space and time are the same thing. Time and space are the same thing. When you walk from point A to point B, it's impossible for you to walk from point A to point B without moving in time and moving in space simultaneously. You can't separate the two. Einstein taught us that space-time and time-space are one in the same, inseparable. So that's why when we walk around and move, we have to walk around in space, we have to walk around in time, they're connected, therefore we have to walk around in the 4th dimension. It's impossible for a 3-dimensional object to exist without it also taking up space. If it takes up space, it also takes up time. Time, space, space, time, we are in the 3rd/4th dimension. Now the 5th dimension, there seems to be, because it's obviously so close to us, as of late, or maybe forever, for the infinity of all time, there is a layer of the membrane that thins, that's a lot thinner than, say, our connection to the 6th dimension. Obviously the closest one is going to be the 5th, and the layer is very thin. I believe it's more than thin. There are virtually vortexes directly to the 5th dimension to a certain extent where they can communicate with us, 5th dimensional entities. This is where it goes off into the paranormal, where scientists will never touch this area. Scientists will spend billions of dollars creating the Large Hadron Collider to bombard particles with particles to see where minuscule pieces of the particles disappear to, trying to prove that the higher dimensions exist. These scientists, these physicists, the quantum physicists, they all know that the higher dimensions exist. They wouldn't spend billions of dollars creating the Large Hadron Collider if they didn't already have a certainty that these higher dimensions exist. Where we part ways is, I know for a fact, the 5th dimension has intelligent entities, and they don't know. They're totally clueless of this. I know for 100% fact because I was contacted by demonic entities, evil entities, invisible entities. If you're contacted by an invisible entity and you're not crazy and it actually happened, then you're being contacted by a higher dimensional entity. Only higher dimensional entities have the power to be invisible to us. I believe they also have the power to reveal themselves to us under certain circumstances, but perhaps even they don't have the power to fully reveal themselves. It might be based on a case-by-case scenario. These little connections represent where it's the strongest between the 2 dimensions, or where the barrier is the weakest. I believe if you happen to live in a house with an extremely strong link to the 5th dimension, you might be haunted on a regular basis, maybe move out. That house might be directly
on a vortex. I'm not one of those hippie New Age people that talks about vortexes. I don't get my information from people in Sedona, Arizona that believe vortexes are everywhere. But perhaps there is a vortex in Sedona. They're invisible, so you can't rule it out. I base whether there may or may not be a vortex somewhere based on the activity. Experience it yourself, and then you know. But I understand if people don't believe me, if it didn't happen to you, it's very understandable. But I know for a fact a thinning of the dimensions, a strong connection between the dimensions exists in certain places on Earth. Whereas most places, there's literally no way to see, communicate, feel, sense, hear anything from the higher dimensions. And that's how it's supposed to be. Perhaps there is a cycle like a solar cycle where the sun has sun flares and the corona of the sun gets strong in parts and has huge sunspots and weak in parts. Perhaps it's a natural cycle of the universe for there to be weak spots between these membranes of these dimensions where entities can come through, they can communicate, they can harass and bother us. It has happened to me. They can look down on us and see us. They're invisible to us because, if I had to guess, 6th dimensional entities are invisible to 5th dimensional entities for the very same reason. 7th are invisible to 6th. 8th are invisible to 7th. 9th are invisible to 8th. 10th are invisible to 9th. 11th are invisible to 10th, and so on and forever. When I talk about negative entities, I'm talking about the lower ones, close to us, the 5th dimension. I do believe even higher dimensional, angelic, wonderful, loving entities do exist. And they exist in the even higher dimensions, and they can look down and they can see these evil 5th dimensional demonic entities occasionally bothering us lower 4th/3rd dimensional entities. They can see everything. These angelic, higher, positive entities of a higher frequency, higher vibration, higher dimension. So, with all the doom and gloom, yes, there are even higher entities of higher, more positive dimensions that can look down, and I have heard, according to Buddhists, perhaps all care of the earthly world disappears when you ascend to those higher dimensions. So there is good within these dimensions. I do believe our spirit lives on forever. It's an opinion I have. I cannot prove it, but I've had too many encounters with spirits, higher dimensional entities, to dismiss. As far as human ghosts, I think human ghosts are slightly higher than demons, slightly higher than evil demonic entities. I do not believe humans can become demons. I believe demons are a completely separate species, if you will. A dimensional species, native to a certain dimension, and I believe us humans can ascend similar to how the Buddhists talk about, but not exactly. I don't exactly agree with Buddhism. But my grandfather was Buddhist, and so I have read a few Buddhist books, and I actually am going to do a review of the Tibetan book of living and dying. Specifically, the dying chapters I want to cover. There's some interesting stuff in those chapters that I agree with, and some that I disagree with. Obviously, I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. I'm just sharing my opinions and what I do believe to know, and I do feel strongly and am passionate about what I do know. And there was a commenter that said, "Why are you so passionate about this? There's no way you can know." When I do know for 100% fact that higher dimensional negative entities that are invisible to us are looking down on us, messing with us occasionally, the reason I'm passionate about that is because I know for a fact it is happening. It happened to me. It's really not that difficult to figure out. Biases can cause people to ignore it and shake it off like it's nothing. So it goes both ways. People claim that I have biases, but the fact of the matter is, a bias can both help and it can hurt you. If it's a true bias, it can help you. If it's a false bias, it can most definitely hurt you. I try not to focus on dogma. I try to look at it from a scientific perspective. I wish scientists would look at these possibilities of communication between the fifth dimensional entities that are intelligent and us. But because such cases are extremely rare, it can't be taken to a laboratory, except perhaps if someone finds a vortex, an extremely demonic oppressed house that may or may not be a vortex. If that house is completely taken over by scientists and turned into a laboratory, theoretically something could come from that. But usually it's paranormal, new age, psychic people with zero credibility and zero credentials, and it becomes a news story that gets lost in the footnote of history. It'd be useful if actual scientists could take over some extremely haunted houses, but if you have seen the new Ghostbusters movie, it's common knowledge that if you were a legitimate scientist or someone in academia, you will be persecuted and treated badly and lose your job and lose anything you've built in your scientific academic career if you say something like, ghosts are real. It's a subject that goes deep. If you've never had an encounter with a demonic entity, consider yourself lucky. I personally have. A few times, here and there, mostly back in the year 2011. Hopefully, I don't have too many more in the future, but only time will tell. Even though a lot of Hollywood movies joke around with the subject, if you know enough about demonic entities, you can see what even the Hollywood writers didn't intend on adding to the movie. There's a movie called The Mothman PROPHECIES, which is based on sightings of an unknown alien entity, sort of like Bigfoot, very elusive, but supposedly had the properties of a moth, a giant moth, or perhaps a giant bird-like creature. And I'm going to show a clip from the movie. I was unable to do so I had to recreate the entire soundtrack and the entire dialogue between the character and the entity. This is supposedly the Mothman, or some type of entity talking to the main character. Now, this entity is clearly demonic, not extraterrestrial in any way, shape, or form. This is the most pinnacle scene of the movie, The Mothman Prophecies, but it doesn't spoil too much. And because I changed everything up, I recommend watching the movie for this scene, as it is portrayed and acted much better with the original voices.
Hello, John Klein.
Who is this?
Your father was born in Racine, Wisconsin. He lived in a greenhouse on Monroe Street. You don't remember how your mother looked.
Okay, you got my attention. Where's my watch?
In your shoe. Under the bed. Very good, John. Thank you.
What's in my hand?
Chapstick.
You're reading my mind, aren't you? Are you reading my mind?
I have no need to, do I?
What's the third line of page 51?
A broken smile beneath her whispered wings. still more proof, John Klein.
What do you look like?
It depends on who's looking.
I want to meet you.
You already have, John.
Demonic entities, they do have the ability to stand right next to you, and you being 100% oblivious to that fact. They can look over your shoulder, and they often do. They can see what you're reading, and they often do. They can see through anything, and so they can see if you're holding a chapstick in your hand. What they rarely will do is tell you about it, or have a conversation with you about it over a telephone. That much is pretty extreme. Now, I don't know if this is based on a true story, this particular scene, or if it was 100% fictional for the movie. Either way, such communications would be extremely rare and probably didn't happen. But demonic entities can see what's in your shoe under your bed. They have X-ray vision, as was covered in previous The Attributes of Demons, Occult Unmasked episodes. I personally know firsthand that demonic entities have beyond X-ray vision concerning the third dimension. They can see right through us. How do I know that? Someone asked me in the comments section, how do you know they have X-ray vision? How do you know? I know from two separate instances. One involved the 2011 poltergeist haunting. The entity, a number of times, not too many times, but enough times for me to make a mental note. That's interesting. There's no way that entity would be moving that object unless it had X-ray vision and could see through another object to move that object. And this isn't the movie Birdman. This isn't being crazy, hallucinating that things are moving around. I took, and I currently take, 0 drugs. I'm 100% sane, believe it or not. A doctor might disagree with that, if that particular doctor is an atheist. But I know for 100% fact that demonic entities exist. They do have X-ray vision. They have beyond X-ray vision. And they don't flaunt it. They really keep it a secret, considering the fact that most humans don't even believe they exist. So why should they come out and say, oh yeah, by the way, we have X-ray vision? So no, they don't come out and announce they have it, but they slipped up enough during the 6 months that I was poltergeist haunted that I know for a fact demons have X-ray vision. Now, what are the instances in which they slipped up? I'm writing about it, and it's not phenomenal, it's not sensational, but I'd rather keep those exact stories a bit of something saved away for my book that I'm writing. But a few years later, I did have a rare instance alluding to them also having X-ray vision. So I have those two separate dates separated. In addition to that, I have been researching enough. As you can see in my X-ray vision episode of The Attributes of Demons, a sorcerer that actually summons these things made note that the entity didn't even need to question for a second what was inside of a sealed box, because he could see straight through that sealed box. The sorcerer was telling the entity, oh, by the way, this is inside the box. The entity said, yeah, I know, I can see it. So, very casually. And that's one thing I wanted to make note about from the movie Tomorrowland, was how casually the robot girl mentioned how she has X-ray vision.
Give me the Edison tube and we'll go without you.
I don't have the Edison tube.
It's in your bag. I have X-ray vision.
When'd you get X-ray vision?
Oh, she's full of surprises.
She just extremely casually mentioned it like,
Oh, of course I have x-ray vision. It's not a big deal. I see it through your bag. And so that was the connection with that movie, which I forgot to mention in the x-ray episode, was how casual it was mentioned. Now, these entities, sure, they have x-ray vision. Beyond that, all 3D objects are almost connected from their higher dimensional perspective. They are, in my opinion, in the 5th dimension, but that's just a number. A slightly higher dimension is a more accurate description. Numbers are just assignments by humans. We could say they're in the 4.5th dimension, 5.6th dimension. It doesn't matter. Numbers don't matter. All that matters is they're in a slightly higher membrane, and they can look down into our membrane and see us. We look up, we cannot see them. Demons aren't exactly what you might think. They're very much like owls. They wait, stalking their prey, attacking when the prey least expects it. We are the prey. These entities, they have no regard for us whatsoever. They also have the ability to see us, whereas we do not have the ability to see them. Exactly the scenario of a little mouse versus an owl perched up on top of a cliff or a tree. I first heard this analogy from Mark Passio. Let's take a listen to a few clips of Mark Passio talking about owls.
One of the occultist's favorite symbols is the owl. You'll see this repeated over and over again. It's a theme. The reason the owl is one of the main symbols of the occult, and particularly the dark occult, okay, is because the owl is a predatory bird who has night vision. So what the occult is ultimately about is about hiding knowledge. It's about taking knowledge out of the light of day and cloaking it under the dark of night, so that you can wield it as a weapon against unaware individuals. I'm not saying that the owl always represents something that's bad or evil. It generally just represents wisdom, knowledge, intelligence, wisdom, insight, but also secrecy, predation, night, and darkness, because the owl is a predatory bird. It's a flesh-eating bird that can see its prey from a higher perspective in a state of darkness because of its superior night vision, where its prey does not have that same capability and cannot see it coming for it. That's why it's loved by dark occultism, by dark occultists of all kind. They identify with this symbol because they look at themselves as the predator class that can see its prey, that knows everything about its prey. They see it from a higher perspective, where its prey is on the ground, very low, at a lower level of consciousness, and they're in a position to very easily take advantage of that differential in knowledge. The owl is a powerful symbol of the elite. The owl is, I guess you could say, the mascot of the sorcerers. It is the animal most identified with consciousness that is aware, yet is using that knowledge to suppress those who are not in the know.
Mark is specifically talking about the occult organizations. But I'll go a little bit farther and say the reason these occult organizations love the symbol of the owl are exactly the reasons Mark laid out. But beyond that, it's because these organizations worship, follow, and take the guidance and counsel of demonic entities. During the Renaissance, there was an uprising of the black arts. This is due to the texts that were found, namely the Goetia, such as the Lesser Key of Solomon. The Knights Templars are the ones who supposedly found the Goetia texts in a secret chamber underneath what was left of King Solomon's temple. The Knights Templars got their name from that temple. The Knights Templars took over the entire city of Israel during the Crusades, and their headquarters was the Temple Mount in January of the year 1120. So let's pretend they found the Goetia Key of Solomon magical texts in a secret chamber on the first day they took over the place, January the year 1120 AD. King Solomon's reign ended in 931 BC. We're talking close to 2,000 years earlier. I don't think it's very realistic to assume these texts were hiding underneath King Solomon's temple for 2,000 years. There is no evidence this is the case. I believe it's very possible that the mythology of the story either spawned hoaxers to create an ancient hoax, or some ancient hoaxer created the hoax before the Knights Templars got there and found it. These texts could have been forbidden magic texts that were hidden due to them being against some religious law. Either way, the texts claim that King Solomon himself summoned 72 demons. No offense to anyone, I just prefer to stick with the historical view that most likely these texts were forged. But forged or not, given a narrative that isn't 100% true or not, they did supposedly successfully summon demonic entities. Why I gave that backstory is because 3 of the demons in these texts of the Lesser Key of Solomon have heads of an owl. Let's look at the 3 demons. There's Andras, who has the head of an owl. It looks like the body of a man. There's Ammon, who has the head of an owl, but with fangs in the beak, and then the tail of a snake. And then there's Stolas, a demon that has the body of an owl, but really long flamingo-like legs and a crown. One could only guess why these demons take these shapes and forms. It could be because they are bored, have millennia upon millennia of shape-shifting, and it's literally their only form of entertainment. It could be some way they distinguish among their ranks, different status symbols. It could be to scare humans. Either way, owl is a form that they do take. To summarize, demons are like the owl because they are the hunter. We are the hunted. Just to break it down, here is a barrier. This barrier represents the dimensions. The demons can look down and see us. We are in the 3rd/4th dimension. It's a very low dimension. In fact, it's the lowest of the physical dimensions where an entity can do anything. These demons, my guess is they are in the 5th dimension, but we cannot see them. They are completely invisible to us. They, on the other hand, can see us. So they are at a great advantage of being able to plot and scheme. Talk about the most perfect secret agent that can spy on you. And what if these secret agents were working in coordination with corporations or groups? There are occult groups which do employ these demons, but from the demons' perspectives, they are employing the idiotic lower dimensional humans in their schemes. But there are humans dumb enough to think they are in great, powerful, prestigious elite roles because of their contracts and communications with these entities. there are most definitely some innocent uses of owl symbology, like I used the stained glass window at the Magic Castle, and that's most likely inspired by Merlin, who had an owl, but the origins of Merlin having an owl probably do stem from darker occult origins. In conclusion, there are never complete, fully explained conclusions when it comes to the unseen and the unknown, and the higher dimensions and entities living, occupying those higher dimensions is always going to be in the realm of mystery, in the world of humans, in the world of us mortals. But you can learn from this information and hopefully protect yourself. Some people will choose this or that, and if you have a religion, I'm not going to force it on you. There's no secret message. There's no religion to be forced. I saw a demon in I didn't see it directly, alright? The thing was 100% invisible, but I saw it move objects right in front of my face. As close as 1 foot away, I saw it move objects. As far as the farthest point in my room. The room was a good 15 feet away. So I am writing a book on the subject, Corners of Rooms. It's not done. It's a ways out. Hopefully in 2018, I will have it published. Stay tuned, subscribe to this channel. But in conclusion, you can protect yourself. Not too many months ago, probably around 6 months ago, I had another sleep paralysis demon attack. It was most definitely a demon. I even saw it. I closed my eyes, I could see it. It looked somewhat similar to the Groot-looking bark-face, black-eyed entity from not too many years ago, and this was about 6 months ago. It's pretty recent. I drew a picture of it, but I can't find it. This is what happened. The entity didn't bother me. There was an invisible shield on my left arm, holding the entity back. The shield, perhaps, was given to me from up above, but I can tell you protection does exist. Angels do exist. Higher entities of higher dimensions exist and can protect you. As for calling on them, I would say probably don't use any rituals to call any angels, because a lot of rituals are going to claim to summon an angel, and it's really going to summon the bad kind of angel. Angels aren't going to work according to your time. They're going to work according to the higher rules of the higher dimensions, but they will work in your favor and help you out. Usually when you least expect it. Like when that sleep paralysis attack happened, I was protected. The thing was trying to put pressure on me, but it couldn't. I had a shield on my left arm. That's a true story. And it went away. So sometimes we're faced against a dragon, and it seems like an impossible task that a dragon is attacking us. Well, demons exist. Symbolically, dragons are used to represent demonic entities in the East. I have a book on the subject. I'm going to do a book review on the subject in the future. The more you know concerning these entities, the more you can protect yourself. The less they look like a giant dragon, the more they look like this tiny little dragon right here. Here is Saint Gregory defeating the dragon. He apparently became a saint for defeating a dragon. Take a look at the dragon depicted. It's microscopic. Now, it's not scary at all. It's innocent. But take a look at Gregory. He's maybe smiling at the feat, the fact that the thing's so small. Maybe because he has the armor of protection of faith and his belief. But these entities can be fought off and destroyed out of your life to a certain extent. And let's not talk about where they're going to just bother you. Let's focus on the positive. You can overcome them. Everyone on planet Earth has the same force army against them. And you see people that are successful in every field all over the place. So you can overcome them as others have before. Remember this picture of the owl in the 5th dimension preying upon us mortal humans in the 3rd/4th dimension. Guess what? The 5th dimension isn't where it stops. It continues and it goes upward and onward. above these fifth dimensional demons, guess what? There are higher, more powerful, more enlightened, more spiritually awakened entities that can see everything. These higher entities are invisible to the lower fifth dimensional demons. They can't even see them unless they come down and enter the dimension, and I'm sure they can say, get the heck out of here, we're protecting this guy. And those cases do happen. But the 6th dimension and the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, even atheistic quantum physicists such as Dr. Michio Kaku, co-founder of string theory, and many scientists believe higher dimensions exist. So why can we not believe entities occupy those dimensions? I know for a personal fact, they do. These higher entities, even above, in the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 dimensions, 11, 12, the higher you get, just as in Buddhism, the Bardo realms, the dimensions, the different wavelengths, different frequencies, whatever you want to call them. Man has different classifications and names for them, but more spiritually enlightened entities exist on the top, and less spiritually enlightened are on the bottom. Demons are on the bottom. They're smarter than us because they can see more than us. But there are entities that can see more than them above them. So don't lose hope. You can overcome them. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus with The Attributes of Demons, an Occult Unmasked documentary. Be seeing you.